2 meters. And this one like launched in front of me, and I had my housing and I was pulling the trigger, and I was like, oh my God, I got it.
Our guest today is a full-time photographer. His work has been published in Sydney Morning Herald, The Australian, The Gourmet Traveller, and maybe the work that I know him most for is stuff or images related around the ocean and surfing. So he's been in the North magazine, Carver magazine, and I'm probably going to forget a few here. I'm sure you've seen some of his images from the northern beaches on Instagram. His name is Guy Williment, and you can follow him on Instagram under @gfunk_. Guy, welcome on the show.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks for having me. Pumped to be here.
Did I pronounce your last name right?
It's Williment.
Williment. Oh, I was
You're
unsure
close.
of that.
You've got the Norwegian, stuck in you still.
That's always my excuse when I mispronounce words. Hey, Guy, my first question is, what's the craziest, or maybe what's a standout encounter that you've had with animals on your shoots, or in the ocean? It could be an ocean animal too.
It actually, when I was surfing a few years ago at Avalon Beach, and it was a really muddy kind of water day. I think there'd been a big south swell storm, and it was just like really green and mucky. And I was sitting out the back, and a wave popped up in front of me, and there was probably like a 4-meter shark just 5 meters in front of me in this wave. And it was
at Av?
Yeah, at Av. And it was probably my heart just stopped. Oh God, it was sickening. Because, you think, like, I think of a shark and I always think like, oh, they're similar size to a human, like swim under it. But this thing was like a tank.
They're thick, eh? When they're
so
that size.
thick, and it was so big, and it just shocked me. And this other surfer next to me just looked at me and just started screaming. He's like, "Did you see that?" I was like, "Ah!" And we just caught the wave into the beach, and then the lifeguards put the alarm off, and they had their binoculars out. And
oh wow!
But yeah, that one probably stands out.
People often misunderstand how quickly I think you can recognize that it's a shark and not a dolphin and stuff, right? How would you describe that? Because it's pretty instant.
Oh, this one was just like easily double the size of any dolphin I'd seen.
Yeah.
And I didn't see like the dorsal fin come out or anything, but it was just the shape of it in the wave. That
unrecognizable.
It was pretty terrifying. I've got a really bad phobia of sharks too. So swimming with the housing doesn't do any good for that.
Yeah, wow. Sorry, I meant unmistakable shape of the shark.
Yeah.
It's so easy to see.
Yeah. And then I did a little solo trip around North America and Canada a few years ago. And I saw a few grizzlies then.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. They're like probably one
close
of my...
Close up or?
Yeah, pretty close. It's way too close for comfort.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it was a black bear that I was really close to, and that seemed pretty mellow. I was just about to start a hike, and I pulled up to the car park and got out of my car, and then towards where the path started, there was just a black bear just eating all these grains. Like someone had left all these grains out, and it was just eating away, and it just looked at me, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, is this happening? Wow. And then it just put its head down and kept eating. And I took a shot. I probably shouldn't. I should have just, backed up. But I was like...
Were you by yourself?
I was by myself.
Wow.
I was that stupid tourist that, like, taking a selfie with the bear.
Wow. I've never been up close to a bear at all. What are they like? What's the sense that you get from that?
Just this beautiful beast. They're so big. This one wasn't too big, the black bear itself, but I'd seen some grizzlies from my car that trip that were just so big.
Wow.
And... beautiful, like they seem really kind of tame and timid, but then if they snap, I think they just
I think what they say is like they're actually really fast for a short burst of time. Hey, they're really fast on land. So you don't want to mess around with those.
Yeah, definitely. They're probably my two.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Now I have another one that I know that you've encountered quite recently. You've seen the goat out at Avalon as well.
Saw the goat.
Kelly Slater. A terrible joke, I know. But for those that don't know, Kelly's been sticking around in Sydney for a little while. And we just had a big winter swell for Sydney. And that's how I started thinking about you and getting you on the show and hear some stories from you, because you went out in big surf and took some stills, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was shooting LA, the little reef break at Avalon we have. But it wasn't so little last week, and it was massive actually. I've been focusing on my training a bit lately, so I was feeling pretty fit. And I jumped off the rocks and swam out and got hammered a few times and was shooting out there. But it was really big swell. And on, I think it was the Saturday, Kelly Slater I'd just come in from shooting and my brother rang me and he's like, Kelly Slater's paddling out.
Oh, you got to go back out
yeah,
again?
I just got out of the shower, got
wow.
warm. And then I grabbed all my gear and ran back out. And yeah, it was amazing being up in the lineup with him.
Had you seen him surf up close before? Like
No,
that?
not. I'd seen him just like watching from the headland once or twice, but the waves weren't very good. But yeah, he was incredible and such a nice guy, so humble and kind of chatting to all the locals and the surfers out there. And he got smashed a few times.
Yeah, he broke a few boards, I heard.
Yeah, he got one good one when I was out. But he just got pretty obliterated about 3 times in a row.
Wow.
And then went in. But
did you get some good shots of him?
Nearly. Not quite. I got a few good shots from him going over the falls on some.
Yeah. Oh, that's still something.
Yeah, it was such a cool experience, and like him paddling back out and just having a little chat with him, and I don't know, someone that you idolize your whole childhood, and then them to be at your local break and shooting them, it's pretty special.
Yeah. He's another one that's got that. You can't mistake the shape of him when he surfs. Like, it's so easy to see that it's Kelly, right?
Yeah, he's amazing. He's just like you said, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. 11-time world champion, I think, and he's just got an aura about him that's just so amazing.
Still draws a crowd. I think within minutes there were like 100 people up on the hill there.
It was the busiest I've ever seen Avalon Headland. Like I live in the apartment block up there, and I couldn't get a park.
Yeah,
it took me half an hour to find a park outside my own house, and there was cars like just that had parked in the middle of the road, and people were driving up the back of my apartment block and just parking and running outside their cars. Like, this is mayhem. But it was really cool.
That's too much. Like, there's got to be some respect for
it. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. He still draws a crowd, and being able to see him at your local break, might not be that many more chances of that. Really.
Yeah, it was really special. It was I didn't know, like, I didn't get the shot that I was after of him, and I was kind of like, oh, that would have been it. But just the experience itself was really cool, and it was it was a dream, really.
I like what you say there, because when someone like me, I mainly shoot video, but I dabble with photography just for fun.
Yeah.
And I love photography. When I see your Instagram feed, right, it's unbelievable. You got so many amazing photos on there, but we think that every time you go out to shoot, you get like an amazing shot. But as a photographer, it's not like that, is it?
No, it's definitely not.
Yeah.
I try to get one shot I'm happy with each time I go out, but it doesn't happen. And is it extra hard in the water? It is extra hard, yeah. I was speaking to someone like this the other day. Probably the best shot I got last weekend was probably on the land, shooting from the rocks. But I don't get the same fulfillment out of just shooting on the land as I do in the water. Like, I grew up surfing my whole life, and I love being part of the action. And when it's big, that's when I really love it, because it's terrifying, and I love being out of my comfort zone. That's what I like to chase.
Yeah.
So being out there, like, I came in from that session, I was like, I didn't really get anything, but I don't want that to take away from the experience of like that amazing, like that moment you just had.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough. Like, yeah, being in the water and swimming, you've got so many variables out there.
Yeah. Even just like, cause you said you were in the shower from your previous session of shooting in the water, and then you got to put on your wetsuit again, put the camera back in the water housing, all that stuff. It's not done in 2 minutes, is it?
No, it takes a while. Like, and I was just so stressed because my brother's like, hurry up and get out there. And I was like, getting my wetty back on, and I was dumping my card back on the computer, and then setting up the housing again. And I was already cramping up, and I was like, oh, just do it, just get back out there. And it was worth it. It was beautiful. But yeah, it's you don't always get the perfect shot you're after.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I was out at Avalon. Well, I was actually at home doing work, and I went and had lunch, and then I saw dolphins kind of jumping around the back of Av, and that's like, I love swimming with the dolphins. It's my favorite thing to do at home. And so I just grabbed my wetty, grabbed my housing, went out there and was swimming around with them. And it was so amazing. Like, they were launching in front of me, and I had...
How close were you?
Oh, like a meter, 2 meters. And this one like launched in front of me, and I had my housing and I was pulling the trigger, and I was like, oh my God, I got it. Like, it's the shot. And I look, and they're just out of focus. I'd focused on like the Norfolk pine behind. And I was like, oh my God. And I went home to my girlfriend. I was like, babe, like, I nearly got it. Like, I nearly got the shot, but I didn't.
Mate, that's an incredible story, though, because that is what it's like.
Yeah, it is. And that's the reality of it. You're not always going to get the perfect shot. And this one was the perfect shot, and it's completely out of focus. Yeah. And, like, I kind of laughed because I was like, oh, I was so close, and I'm just going to... I'll get it one day. I know I will, because I'll keep going. But it's like, it's the elusive shot of, like, the jumping dolphin in front of you, and... It's like the experience itself I just love, and being around those animals is really special.
people talk about it like it's a luck thing, right? But it's not, because if you keep going out there again and again and again, you can probably stuff up 10, 20 times, but then eventually you're going to get it because you're so consistent with getting out of the water.
Yeah, 100%. When I first kind of started this photography thing, I've got a chalkboard in my room, and she wrote on it, luck favors the prepared mind. And I was like, wow, what a quote. Like, that is amazing, because you can fluke a shot every now and then, be in the right place at the right time. But like you were just saying, if every time I go out when the dolphins are there, I will get it one day. And I've had some lucky shots where they just jump and you get a beautiful moment. But if you're not out there, you're never going to get it.
That's right.
And obviously the more you're out there, the higher chance of getting that beautiful shot is and what you're after. But yeah, I love that quote. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's so true. And another mistake that I actually do quite often is to think that, I'm not going to go out and shoot today because it's not the perfect day. But then there's almost never any perfect days. You got to just keep going out and again and again.
Yeah, and I find like for a period there when I was kind of starting this photography journey, I was getting up every single morning at 5:30 and chasing the sunrise every day. And my girlfriend would be like, oh, can't you just like sleep in one day? I was like, I can't. Like, I'd made a goal to myself, and yeah, you're right. You can't tell when it's going to be a good sunrise. Like, you can see it's going to be good cloud cover, but if you're not out there in that 5-10 minute moment where the light's good, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, things can change so quickly.
Yeah, especially at sunrise or sunset, when you've got that prime time, you've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, not long at all, and you've got to be ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we talk a bit about the equipment that you use?
Yeah.
What do you shoot on, and what housing do you have? And because I'm curious, because a lot of people want to get into shooting in the water, but it can be a bit of a challenging road to get there.
Yeah, it's not the cheapest thing either. I probably shot I only got my housing maybe a year and a half ago or so, but I got an Aquatech housing. It's for my Canon 5D4. Originally I had the Canon 6D2. That was kind of my first body DSLR I had, and that was awesome.
Yeah,
that's
like a mid-upper range camera.
Yeah, it was awesome. I think I paid like $2,500 for it at the time, and that kind of set me off into photography, and I loved it. And then last year I bought the 5D, and then got the upgrade for the housing for that. And then lenses, I just used the 24-70 Mark II, and then I got the 50. Originally I had the Canon 50mm plastic fantastic little thing.
Oh yeah, it's cheap and really good.
Wow, I was blown away.
That.
Yeah, it's $150 or something, and that was my like workhorse for a little bit in my housing. I got the newer 50mm now, which is really good, and then I used the 70-200 2.8.
You got the holy trinity, really.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then, but I think I need to purchase the 100-400 or something.
An even bigger one.
I think so.
For the land shots.
Yeah, just last Sunday I tried to swim out when it picked up.
Yeah.
So I shot the Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday I was pretty knackered. And Ben Player, there's a bodyboarder that lives in Avalon. He's like 3-time world champ, and we were going to try and shoot out LA. And I got absolutely hammered jumping off. I made it out the back, but then this rogue bomb sets came, and I was pretty exhausted, and my legs were cramping up, and I got hammered, and I got swept into the beach, and hundreds of people on the headland watching me. I had my head down, just like,
dude, it's not. I wouldn't be too embarrassed about that, because it's such hard work.
Yeah,
There's very few people that can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I saw a lot of Insta stories tagging you in and being like, you're crazy going out there. Like, that's so impressive.
that humbled me a lot.
Yeah.
I was feeling the ego was feeling good after Friday and Saturday. But yeah, that was good. But I got in from land, and I was like, I need a bigger lens. Just because sometimes you can't swim out. It's not a reality.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It was too big on Sunday, and I couldn't get out, and I tried. And then this 70-200 is really good, but I just want to get that tighter kind of look.
Do you have the extender?
I don't, no. Okay. So that's what I should get. Or
could be another option. You lose a lot of light there, but I mean, if you're shooting daytime surfing, you're going to have enough light anyway.
For sure. It was just, I was watching my mate Spencer Frost. He's a really good filmmaker, and he was shooting like this crazy angle from North Ave looking back into LA, and he had his 400 and then a two times converter, and then he cropped in. So he was shooting like over 1,000 mil, and it looked so incredible.
That's a pretty unique angle of that wave, right?
Yeah, did you see some of that footage?
No,
or?
I didn't, but I can imagine what that looks like.
Yeah, it was amazing. It looked like Indo or something, like Cape Fear, or
Yeah, you get the cliff in the background, the backdrop of it.
But like I was saying to someone the other day, you just work with what you got.
Yeah.
Like it's an expensive craft to have, and you can't have all the tools.
Yeah.
Like there's so many lenses on them. I was like, oh, I need to get this, or I need to get that, and you don't. Like just work with what you got, and when you've got the money or when you want to invest, like do it. But like a lot of the time you can get caught in your head thinking, I need this equipment to get that shot, but you don't. Yeah.
It's so easy to think like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So for someone that wants to start shooting in the water, I'm sure you get this question fairly often. What do you recommend? Which way should they go? This is your opportunity, I guess, to answer that question in a subtle way.
I guess just go for it. For me, it was I saved up the money and I bought a housing, and it was the most amazing thing.
And the housing is roughly 1,500.
Yeah, I think I paid $2,000, something like that. So it's a bit of money, but
it's another camera, really.
Yeah, it opens up another world of taking photos, really. I just start off with a cheap, like 50 mil or something. I find, well, if you got a 50 mil, that's what I usually go to.
Yeah, in the water.
Yeah. You can shoot wide, but I feel like 50, you're kind of covering all angles. So yeah, get yourself a housing, put on a 50 to start off with, and then see what you like from there, and just keep fit.
That's another good point.
Yeah, but I mean, you can shoot.
Be good at swimming.
Yeah, be good at swimming, and just be confident in the water, but know your limits, I think, too. Like obviously it's good to get out of your comfort zone, like I was saying before, but there is a time where you've got to be realistic and be like, it's too big, or but yeah, I'd say if you're on the fence of getting a housing, just do it, because it's amazing.
It is an incredible experience, and it opens up a whole new world. But
Aquatech, that's what, I don't know if I said that. Aquatech's really good, and I've never had any issues with flooding the housing or anything like that. Well, I did, but that was my fault.
I was just going to ask, actually, because I've got an Aquatech housing as well.
Yeah.
And some other people that I shoot with, they've all got Aquatechs. So it's definitely a really good brand. It's an American brand, but they've got a division here in Wollongong, I think.
Yeah.
But what was your first experience putting your camera in that housing and going out shooting? Did you? Because I thought I was going to come back with good stuff straight away, and it's so difficult.
Oh, I was such a kook. Like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, these droplets just keep getting on my lens, and everything's out of focus. And I remember like putting it in, I was so nervous. Like, I tested it out in like the bathtub a few times before going out on the beach. And I probably did that for the first few months. Like before I'd jump in the water, I'd test it to make sure it wasn't flooding every time. Because you hear so many bad stories.
Yeah, I took in some water.
Did you? Yeah. Did it break the camera? Or?
Nah, I went straight back in again.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize until maybe 5-10 minutes in
really?
the ocean. Yeah.
Far out.
There's water in here.
Yeah, that doesn't look right.
Yeah. But how did you go?
We were shooting in Ireland, and I just jumped off it was like a meter kind of rock shelf that you jump off into the water. And I hadn't been washing my housing because we were in a van, like on a road trip. And I think the clips on the edge had started to get a bit salty. And I just wasn't looking after it like I should have been. And I jumped off, and I think I heard something click. And I jumped in the water, and the housing got fully dunked under. And I came up, and I just see water just caving in the sides. And my mate Spencer, who was filming, he was still up on the cliff, and I was swimming back, and waves were hitting me, and I was trying to pass it up to him, and there was probably an inch of water in there.
Oh my!
It had gone above, it had gone to the screen of the camera.
Yeah.
And I just as soon as I got up, I just let all the water out, and I was just what have you done?
Dang.
But
the cameras, I mean, the 5D Mark IV is pretty sturdy. They can take a little bit of water.
Yeah, it survived. Yeah, it was. I was surprised. I was a bit rattled. I was a bit annoyed at myself, because you just become complacent after a while. With anything, when you repeat something so many times, that's when errors start to come in.
Yeah.
And that was a real wake up call to me.
You gotta properly do it. Hey?
Yeah, and I didn't have to pay anything for it. It wasn't an expensive lesson learned. It was just a lesson learned, which was good.
Yeah.
But I was never do that again. It takes 30 seconds, not even 10 seconds to check all over your gear before you jump in, and. Yeah,
it's so true. It is one of those things where you just got to be a bit more meticulous every time you do it.
For sure.
Make sure all the connectors are working. The O-ring is nice and clean.
Yeah.
It can be quite a painful process and nerve-wracking, like you said.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned it now, and I definitely want to talk to this about this with you, because you worked on the A Corner of the Earth film production with your mate Spencer.
Yeah.
And you did the stills for it, and you got this amazing coffee table book. How did you guys start that process of getting into that? Because one of the things I wanted to ask about is like, how do you get funded as a photographer to go and shoot a project like that? Because it wasn't cheap. You guys went to Northern Europe and
it wasn't
the Arctic,
cheap.
right?
It was completely self-funded. It was Spencer and I had talked about doing a trip like that for a few years, and then Chris Burkhard's film came out, Under an Arctic Sky, and that just like revamped that fire. And we were like, oh, we gotta get up there. Like we talked about it for so long, and we were trying to get a surfer involved, and there wasn't that too many surfers that were keen.
How did you pitch it?
Oh, with the worst pictures ever. I think we were like, we don't really know where the waves are. Don't really know where we're going.
Freezing cold.
But one guy, Fraser, who's a good, like really good mate of mine, he was super keen. We couldn't really get anyone else keen because, we didn't know whether we were going to score waves or not. And you have this like fantasy idea of what it's going to be like in your head. And it's just so not like that. Like, you know what it's like up there. It's so rogue and so cold.
Yeah, watching that movie, I don't know what you guys were doing. That's so crazy.
I don't know what we're doing. But yeah, we talked about it for a while, and then we just booked a ticket, and we're like, we need to start planning. Spencer was really good at finding out information and just kind of contacting a few guys from up north or people that had done a similar trip, and just kind of, we had a little book, like we called the Bible, of just like waves and what swell and wind and tide and stuff they worked on. And
wow, old school, hey.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of information on the waves up there, and we were really lucky with people helping us out. We flew into Ireland, and then had a little base there, and then jetted from like to Scotland and Iceland to find waves. And it was a crazy trip. Like I was saying before, you've got this fantasy idea of what it's going to be like surfing in the snow, and you get there and your bubble just bursts, and you're like, oh my goodness, like it's minus 15 outside, and you're getting in a wet weddy to jump in the water to shoot. And it's just crazy. Yeah. But it was the best experience of my life. Like,
well, I wonder sometimes because I'm from Norway and I grew up in that environment, and I've got like I love it, but it's also, I don't have that draw towards it. I love the summer. It's probably why I moved to Australia. But I do notice that some Australians have this allure about the winter and the cold and the snow and the big mountains. Was that like that?
Yeah, I've always loved the cold. I went to New Zealand a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago or so, and just being around the snow and the mountains, and it was the first time I'd seen like big mountains, and I was like, "What? This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." And ever since then, I've just kind of been hooked on that like snow, surf, mountain kind of vibe. And Spencer was too. Like we did a few snowboard missions down to Threadbow and Persia, and we were like, imagine like having these mountains by the coast and being able to surf. Yeah. And then when we saw like people were doing it, we're like, let's do it. Like it just looked like the coolest thing, and it was the coolest, but it was so hard and cold, and you got to work to get your shots up there for sure.
That's the thing though, and it's also I think it's always hard to explain what it's actually like being close to those mountains in person compared to a photo that you see on Instagram, because you don't really get the sense of the scale, right?
Yeah, being there was crazy. Like, in like panoramic view, there's these like, I don't know how big they are, hundreds of meters high mountains, everything covered in
thousands.
Snow. Yeah, and you've got this like little right hand point break underneath it, and you're just like completely mind blown. We worked really hard to find this right point up there, and when we got there, and it was probably the best like day of shooting and surfing of our life. Like,
this was in Ireland? Or?
In Iceland.
Iceland, yeah.
Because
was that the point, that the rolling right hander that comes through that point?
Yeah. Because you're working with like 4 or 5 hours of daylight, and it's so rogue up there. Like you see a swell, and we'll drive 8 hours through the night to get there, and then the report would change, and it'd be onshore and like 2 foot, and you'd just be like, oh my goodness. So like when things do come together, it's like, it's magic.
Yeah. Can I ask, on that movie, did you surf at all? Did you get to go out in those waves and catch a few? Or?
Yeah, so after Fraser would kind of do his stint of...
Just rip it apart?
Yeah, rip it apart. I don't know how long he could surf. It was probably like an hour and a half max. Yeah. And then when it was really good, Spenny and I put the camera gear in the car and get out there and go for a paddle.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you might have already been in the water shooting for an hour or so.
I think it was when I was shooting land we went for a surf.
Okay, yeah.
Because you're so cold.
Yeah, there's no way you're going back out after...
your body's just frozen, and your mind doesn't want to go back.
Let's talk about the cold a little bit, because there is a moment in the movie where I mean, by the looks of it, I'm no expert, but it looks like you're pretty close to getting frostbite because you are so cold. How long were you in the water for, and what was the process of reheating you, basically?
Yeah, so that day, that was at that right point we were just talking about, and it was a really slow swell, so long wait in between sets, waves coming in. And there was an angle that I wanted to get a Fraser kind of taking off with the big mountain behind him from the water. And we just weren't getting it. I'd probably been out for 20 minutes and I was like, oh, Fraser, I just like need to get, like, let's try to get one more. And then I reckon I was out for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
What wetsuit are you in?
I was in a Zion wetsuit, so a brown down the coast in 6'5" mil.
6'5".
Yeah, and then
obviously gloves, hoodie, boots.
Yeah, 5 mil gloves, 5 mil booties, and just frozen. Like,
and how are you hitting the trigger with a glove?
yeah, I missed a lot of shots because the glove's so thick, and your hands go numb after probably 10 minutes, I'd say. And there was times, so that day in particular, Fraser would get a good one in front of me, and I'd be trying to shoot, and I couldn't click the trigger down on my camera, and I was so frustrated because you've got like this scene that you've dreamed of shooting, and you can't even click the button on your camera. And but yeah, I came in, and in the film you can see I was so cold. Like I probably had hypothermia, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking, and even with the car heater on blasting, I like couldn't warm up, and I was feeling like pretty nauseous.
Nauseous.
Yeah, like I felt sick, and yeah.
Wow.
And then we got back to our place, and they had a hot tub there.
Were you still in your wetsuit?
Yeah, I was still in my wetsuit.
You didn't want to get it off?
No, I couldn't. I was frozen, and then just thawed out in the hot tub for about an hour and a half.
How was that pain when you reheat it?
Oh, it's the worst. you definitely know what it's like.
Yeah.
Like when you're cold and then you start to heat up, and I don't even know how to describe the pain. Like I remember taking my gloves off in the spa in the hot tub, and the pain was just like another level of like these sharp daggers, like the warmth coming back into your hands, I guess what it is. Oh, that was unbearable. And I just remember like, I never want to do this again. And then an hour later you're warm and you're like, that was the best thing ever. Like that was crazy. And it was tough, but yeah, I loved it.
Because you definitely, the cold didn't scare you off then, because now I see that you guys are doing ice baths and you're all right into that stuff.
Yeah. Spencer, who we went on the trip with, the filmmaker, he bought an ice bath recently. He kind of started watching a bit of Wim Hof. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Yeah. Most people have.
Yeah. And he started to do ice baths, and he's like, you should come around one day. And I was like, oh.
Here we go again.
And the anxiety just got brought up, and I was like, I don't know if this is my thing, like the ice bath. And you just get it in your bodies, and you do like 3 rounds of the Wim Hof breathing before. And Spenny was kind of telling me what to do, and I was so anxious. Like I felt like I was going to have a panic attack. Like I get there and he's got his hammer and chisel out, like hacking away. Cause it's,
you guys got homemade ice, yeah? Just like big blocks of it, or?
Oh, it's so it's like a freezer, a chest freezer. So it freezes overnight, like an inch or 2 thick, and then he hacks away it in the morning.
Oh, so wait, so it's the freezer with the ice in it. He chops up the ice, and then you put water in the freezer and go in?
There's like, I guess, a thick layer of ice at the top, and then under that's just water. Oh, so it's negative 0.5 degrees in the water. We were just measuring it this week, and
to give some context, I think a normal cold bath is generally around 9 degrees, and then close to ice bath it's like 2 degrees. So you guys are even
it's crazy. And the first time I did it, I got to about 30 seconds and was like, F this. Got out. I was like, this thing sucks. I can't do it. And Spenny's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, and I was like, I can't do it. Like, my body just went into shock straight away, and I started freaking out. And because he's doing like 3 minutes at this point. And I was like, no, I can't do it, dude. Like, and I left, and I felt really like upset with myself that I couldn't do it. I'm usually like, your ego kicks in, and you're like, I'm gonna conquer this shit. Like, and then the next day, he was like, come back and try do it. And I was so nervous. Like, I just wanted to be like, oh no, I can't. I got this edit to do, but my mind was like, dude, come on, like you got this, because it's such a mind game. And we did the breathing, and I got in, and he was just like, just focus on the breath, and I got past the first minute, and I just felt like not fine, but I felt comfortable in there.
Wow.
And it was just, it's been like a game changer for me mentally. Over the past few years, I like get really bad anxiety, and I feel like the ice bath has actually helped so much, because you get put in that fight or flight mode when you get in it, because your body's just in shock, like complete shock, because you're getting in, icy water. And it's just that, the cliche saying, focus on the breath. But when you do focus on your breath, you're able to like completely slow down your body and just sit through it. And it's amazing, like what it's done. And even like swimming around in that big swell on the weekend, I felt so much more comfortable. Like it was crazy. And I give it to the ice bath for doing it, making me feel comfortable in like stressful situations. And even on jobs, like I feel a lot less angst because I'm just like, I got this. Like just focus on the breath. It's all good. Like you don't need to panic when your body starts to, like get in that zone. And yeah, the ice baths, it's amazing. Like,
That's awesome.
It's amazing to see people do it for the first time and have that mind of like, no, I don't think I can do this. Like I can't do this. And then they do it. And that whole thought process changes. Like, oh, I can do this. And as soon as you say like, I can do something, it's like the mind changes and you can accomplish that. And yeah, it's amazing to see people do it first time, get out, and they're just like buzzing. And they're like, that was so hard, but so amazing. I feel so good. And yeah, I've been like, Spenny's done like 70 days in a row or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was aiming for 40 days because Wim Hof was doing like a 40-day challenge to have a cold shower, an ice bath or whatever. And Spenny did that and he's just kind of kept going. And I've been going around quite a bit with a few of the other boys. And yeah. Have you done them?
No, it's been a while. I'm probably at the stage where you were in the beginning, and it sounds like you maybe have to be a bit more consistent with it because every time I go in, it's like panic mode.
For sure, consistency for me was like the biggest thing because I'd do it one day, and then Spenny would be like, "You need to get a few days in a row," and I'd wake up the next morning and I'd be like, "Oh, I've got an ice bath." Like I don't want it. Like it'd be the first thing on my mind each morning, and then I think I did 5 days in a row, and the fear had completely gone.
Wow,
I'm like excited to go back now and get in, and there's no anxiety there, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy because like, yeah, for me, it was the hardest thing to do. And like I was saying before, I really enjoy getting out of my comfort zone. But for this, I didn't want to. I was like, nah, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Like, nah, I don't know about the benefits of this. And like, I think it's really good to push yourself sometimes to break through that.
It makes you feel alive on the other side of it, right?
It makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like you feel super clear, like your clarity is on another level and you just, I don't know, it's like having a coffee, but you're just like high on your own supply,
Yeah. Your own endorphins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was some cool scenes as well in the film. Because yes, we saw you almost like die of hypothermia, but then also there were some scenes where you guys are out in the cold water and you look so stoked because you must have gotten the shot or he must have gotten the mad wave or something like that.
Yeah, I think when you put the work into anything, whether like anything in life, and you come out the other side and you accomplish a goal or you win whatever, it's such a good feeling. Like, and I feel the same with anything. Like for me, taking photos, when I go to the effort to getting a shot and I get the shot I'm after, it's like it's amazing. And like a lot of the time people don't see that in the image, but like for me as a photographer, like when I look at it, if I'm on the side of the road and I pull over and take a beautiful photo, yeah, it might get 1,000 likes or whatever, but it doesn't mean much to me.
Because you didn't put much effort into it.
I didn't put much effort in. And like, yeah, that's what I really enjoy doing.
Yeah. That's a perfect segue into a bit more about your story, because now you work full time with photography, but it wasn't always like that. And I think your journey with that was a bit of a, I don't know, I probably shouldn't describe it. I think you should describe it, but maybe not a straight and narrow road as some people think these things are.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to live full time by being a creative, but it's not just flicking a switch and it happens, right? Can you talk a bit about how that journey was for you?
Yeah, so I went to, I'll kind of go way back a little.
Yeah.
Awesome. I went to Shaw in North Sydney, like a private school, very focused on education and learning and career and going to uni. And I was kind of just like a sheep in that system. Just, yeah, like cool. Like I don't really know what I want to do. I don't really have like a purpose in my life. And I finished school and I went to uni and did a media degree for 3 years at UTS. And I just felt like I was just kind of numb the whole time, not really interested, just like, oh, I guess I'll just get a 9-to-5 job in the city. And I remember I finished uni, or like coming up to my end of my degree, and I was like, oh, like the thought of getting a 9-to-5 job in like in an office in the city like makes me feel sick. Like that's really not what I want to do. And people are like, why don't you just take a gap year? And I was like, yeah, I think I will. And a mate of mine was getting really into meditation at the time, and I was suffering, like I said before, like with some pretty bad anxiety, just like no real triggers. I was just constantly feeling anxious. And I think that came back to like not having a purpose in my life. I just felt so lost at the time. And I booked a trip to New Zealand, just a one-way ticket. Didn't really know what I was doing. I had like $2,000 in my bank account, like not a lot of money. I ditched social media because I felt like it wasn't doing any good for me. I was constantly comparing my life to others and seeing this beautiful life everyone was living on Instagram and Facebook. And I got rid of it for 6 months or that whole trip, and went to New Zealand, did a bit of soul searching, went up into the mountains and did a bit of meditating, and I bought a van, and then 2 mates came and met me about 6 weeks through the trip. And one of them went home after a few weeks and the other stayed, and we were driving around Mount Cook, like this beautiful mountainous area, and our van broke down. And we got it towed like to the closest village, which was like 60 k's away, and I'd run out of money, and so had he. And we couldn't even buy a ticket home. And we were looking for work in this village, and then there was a cherry farm, a cherry orchard. And we went up to them and we're like, oh, do you guys need any work? And they're like, yeah, we need actually people to pick cherries at the moment. They had like, I don't know, 40 or 50 people, other workers there. And we did that for about a month and saved up a bit of money, and bought another car, and then did kind of a road trip up to the North Island. And it just changed my like perception of life. Like, I think traveling really opens your mind up, and you're like, oh wow, there's a whole world out there, and the people you meet and the stories they share of like following their dreams. And like you see people that have, you know, similar to my situation, like they'd finished uni and then went traveling, and now they've like ended up in this beautiful farm, like working and loving life. And I thought that was really interesting, like just hearing different people's stories of they ended up doing something they love. Like they closed one door that they weren't really interested in, another opened up. So I got home from that trip, and I was kind of like, okay, like what do you like doing? What do you want to do? And I still didn't know. I was like, I'm not really sure. Like, I like traveling, I like nature, I like exploring, I like the ocean. And I was like, okay, well, like, what lines up with that? And I was like, I don't know. And then I ended up just like laboring for a year, just like gardening, laboring for like a brickie, which was really tough. I felt lost, and I was saving money just for another trip. Yeah. And I ended up going to North America and Canada just on a solo trip. And I took my sister's 7D. She lent it to me. And I just got like obsessed with taking photos and capturing these beautiful moments on the trip, like taking a photo of the bear. And then I saw the Northern Lights on that trip. And
oh, wow.
Oh, it was insane. Yeah. Like, I started crying that night, and I was like, wow, like this is the life I want to live. Like, how do I do this? And I remember being like really scared to tell people like, oh, I want to be a travel photographer. It's like, yeah, dude, everyone does. Like, get in line. And I came home, and yeah, like I was saying before, a few people hit me up for prints from like another trip I did to Nepal. And I was like, it was the first time I'd made money doing something I love. Like, it was just a couple $100, but I was like, wow, you know, go for it. And I set myself a goal for like 2 years. I was like, okay, give yourself 2 years and see if you can actually turn this like passion into a job and into your main income. Yeah. And it wasn't all like amazing. Like, I'd get 1 job a month, and then I'd be laboring the rest to get money in, and then I'd get 2 jobs a month, and then it's slowly built up. And it's pretty much like 2.5 years ago since I kind of set that goal. And yeah, the last year and a half, I've just been doing full-time photography work, which has been like amazing. And I'm so lucky because like not everyone has the opportunity that I had. And there's amazing photographers out there that don't get consistent work, but because it's just who you know. And I've just like, yeah, I've fallen into the right group of people. And I feel like we're so lucky to live around here and have the opportunity to do what we want. And I feel like for me, I was just like, really put the work in and chase it. And yeah, like I was saying before, I was shooting every single day, like to get a portfolio together. And it was hard. And some days I was like, oh, it's not really worth it. I'm not really getting anywhere. And then I was lucky enough to fall into a job with like Tourism New South Wales because a photographer pulled out, and I'd assisted on a job, and they're like, can you shoot? And I was like, I guess, like so scared, like
nervous the first time.
Yeah, like the first big job, and I was like, I don't know if like I'm good enough to do this. Like, I don't know anything about lighting, and then I just started after that job. I was like, I need to learn more, so I started doing like a heap of like masterclass and creative live classes online, and that helped heaps. And I guess I've been lucky to end up where I am now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Going from being scared to tell people that you want to be a photographer into shooting
Yeah,
full
it
time.
was-
That is a journey.
And I think that was actually a huge step for me, like just saying, I want to be a photographer. Like putting it out there and telling the universe. Because if you don't tell anyone, no one knows.
Yeah.
Like, I had a mate was like, I told him, he's like, oh, cool. Like, like he owns like a fitness studio. He's like, do you want to come take some shots? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, and it's scary, but that's how you learn too, when you get chucked in the deep end.
Absolutely. I think there is some studies around that to say that if you share your goal with at least friends and family, or if you, like you said, put it out in the universe, you know, your chances of fulfilling that goal increases substantially. Like,
Yeah,
it's
for
huge.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you, like, how did you kind of get into this?
I was shooting for a while just as a hobby.
Yeah.
And I thought I always wanted to shoot stills. That was my dream when I
Yeah.
was younger too. But then I always made videos on the side, just out of traveling or friends gatherings and stuff like that. And I loved putting music onto the videos, and that brought an element into the imagery that I couldn't really do with stills. I guess you can do in some ways, but it was a bit different with video. And then it just rolled on more and more. And exactly like you said, like you get your first job and you get paid. And I think for me, that was a big eye opener. I was like, someone paid for this and they were actually happy with it.
Yeah. And I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was like, wow. And I just, that really, flipped the switch for me. And I just wanted to try and do that more and more. And
Yeah.
you're right. Like, you're trying to get small gigs with, you know, at least some people, you know, so at the back of your head, you're like, well, if I screw this up, I can just
Yeah,
reshoot it
for
for them,
sure.
or I know them well.
And I'm still screwing up.
Yeah, yeah, me
I'm
too.
still learning. Like,
Yeah.
I'm by no means like, you know, a top dog that's killing it. I'm still hustling and doing crappy jobs that I don't want to do to make money. But, you know, you got to start somewhere. And
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And you got to, you know, you're doing it full time. You got to fund yourself and fund the equipment that you're having. It's not cheap. So, absolutely. One question I like to ask is how would you give advice to someone that's, you know, already have a half decent camera, or at least like a, you know, lower range DSLR or similar, and then because I got friends like this all the time, and they're saying they want to shoot more, they want to get better images, but how do they get to that point? What advice do you give to? Because there's a lot of people that own a decent camera. I mean, the iPhone is half decent.
The phone's amazing. It's actually, it's mind blowing. I think just find what you like shooting. And that's been the biggest thing for me. Like, I found the ocean and kind of the mountains, and that's what I love shooting. So I just kept shooting that. Like, I think building up a portfolio, like if this is what you want to turn into your work, build up a portfolio of things you want to shoot.
Yeah.
Like, I've started doing some like interior kind of cabin stuff, and I don't want to do it. And I've realized, like, I put stuff on social media, and now I start getting jobs, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't put that stuff up because I don't want to shoot it.
Yeah, what you put out is what you attract.
For
right?
sure.
Yeah.
And I think, like, if you're just putting up stuff that you want to shoot, then you're going to start getting like hit up for that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah,
interior's a nightmare. Everything's got to be straight. That's so hard.
I'm such a kook with it too. But yeah, I think just learn your craft, learn your camera, learn what you like shooting, and just keep pushing it. And like we were talking about before, you're not going to get an epic shot every time you go and shoot.
Yeah.
It's like, it's hard work, and you got to get up early to get the right light and things like that. But if you really love it, you'll start making some progress too.
Yeah.
And
when
like,
you get shots you love, it's very fulfilling.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like I used to surf a lot, and I get just as much fulfillment out of taking a good shot now as I would like getting barreled, which is like crazy for some people to hear. They're like, oh, that's not true. But I'm like, yeah, for me it is, you know.
I think you can tell from watching, we talk about this film a lot now, A Corner of the Earth, but I got that sense from watching that's so true for you. Because you got your mate out there ripping into these waves by himself, but you're out there shooting and you're just as stoked.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I've been lucky enough that I've found my thing now that I love doing. And I love like capturing moments, and it's sick because like Fraser, who was on that trip, he loves surfing. So, and Spenny loves filming and telling a story. So it's like the three of us came together and we're all doing what we love. And
it's a good team.
Like it went really well, 'cause we didn't really know how well the film was going to go and the book. Like we just completely winged it. And people enjoyed it, which was really cool.
Yeah, that's a lucky result for sure. Or not a lucky result, but it's a good result.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, it was lucky too. Like, we didn't know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, another part of your photography work I wanted to talk about is getting basically from shooting it into printing or publishing it, because I've seen on your Instagram as well that you've got some amazing actual prints, physical prints. I think that's something that's lost a little bit in the art of photography. Back when I studied it, we printed in a black and white darkroom and stuff like that. Like that you never see that anymore, really. How do you go from shooting, and like what do you use for post processing and with your printing and framing? That's because it looks beautiful. What you've done.
Yeah, I just use Lightroom, just kind of straight from the camera to Lightroom, and then kind of adjust the colors, the contrast, stuff like that. My editing's changed a lot since I first started. I think you kind of grow as you keep going and learn what you like and the looks you like, but that changes too. But yeah, I usually go from camera to Lightroom, and then I use a place in Brookvale called Gusha Printing, and they've been really good to me. Like I had no idea like how to even save a file to be printed at the start. Like
how do you do that? That is a good point.
I still don't know if I'm doing it right, so call me out if I'm not. But I usually I print it at like 300 pixels per inch. I think that's what it is, PPI.
Yep. So that's different to if it's just on screen. It's usually 72 or 96, right?
Yeah. And then I usually save it as a JPEG for Gusha. That's what they like. I know, like when I've done bigger jobs for like Tourism New South Wales, they like to get their files in TIFF.
The ginormous files.
They're ginormous. Yeah.
You need a hard drive just for that one file.
Seriously, they're so big. I use Gusha Printing, and they've been awesome. Like they do such a good job.
Do they frame it as well?
No, they don't. So I use a guy called Maury in Brookvale, also called Pickwick Framing, and he's been great. Like I was such a novice when I first went to both of them, like the printers and the framers.
That's awesome though that you've kind of been through that process. How cool is it to see your like first good print?
Yeah,
like, sick.
And like I did an exhibition like 2 years ago. Just like I shot a year around home, and I was like, maybe I'll do it like a local exhibition.
Yeah.
And I couldn't afford like good framers, so my sister was working at Country Road, and I went in there and their frames looked nice-ish. So I got a heap of them. And it was,
frames at the clothing shop?
Yeah. So they have like a homeware section.
Oh,
no,
okay,
you can buy it. And I printed the shots and I did all the framing myself, and it was like the biggest nightmare ever. Like I sold a few, and I remember like this guy who'd bought one like rang me. He's like, it's kind of like warping a bit. It's got these like wobbles, and I just was like, oh my god, like you're such an idiot. Like what have you done? And I realized that like a heat wave had come through Sydney at the time, and the back of the frames were cork, and they'd all warped with the heat. Yeah. Which was a nightmare. So I messaged like, I think I sold like 20 prints or so, or maybe like a few more that exhibition. And I just had to message everyone and be like, how's the print? Like, and I had probably half come back being like, yeah, it's like gone a bit funky. And I was so embarrassed. And like, I guess like now I can laugh at it. Yeah. Like, cause you're just constantly learning.
That's the journey of it, right? Yeah. It's so funny. But to your point, framing and that is a job in itself, really. Like when you look at art, proper art, like the framing job is, so well done.
And I didn't realize how expensive it was.
Yeah.
Like I went and got a quote for like a A1 or something, and it was like $400, and I was like, what? Like just for the frame. And I was like blown away. That's why I went a cheaper option, which I'd never do again. Yeah. It's not worth it.
You got to factor it into your pricing, right, when you're selling.
For sure.
Yeah. And people do appreciate that. I lived in London for a year, and I loved going to the big art exhibitions, and because you get a lot of massive photographers exhibiting there, and I would just like study the framing and how they put it in, because it's
an art in itself, the framing.
Absolutely.
So that was a big learning curve, and but I'm super happy with him now, and I've used him a bunch. Pickwick Framers. Yeah. And he kind of gives me a pretty good deal now, just because like I guess the more consistent you're getting work done, they're going to do it for cheaper rates.
Repeat business.
Yeah. So he's been great.
Yeah. Hey, another standard question is, can you give us 3 things in your camera bag that you can't, work without? Maybe besides the camera and the lens, the basic ones. Are there some cool tools that you have?
I've got my head torch. So that's a big one for me. I love doing astrophotography too. So a lot of star stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when I'm camping, and like I was saying before, I shoot a few cabins and like glamping kind of things. And I love doing the night stuff. And when you forget the head torch, that's a bit of a nightmare.
It's hard to operate anything or put anything up, yeah?
Yeah.
What lens do you like to shoot for astro?
I've got a Sigma Art, the 24mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I probably should be shooting wider, but I've just never invested in something wider.
It's expensive.
Yeah, but yeah, that was my first lens I ever bought, the Sigma Art, and I've been super happy with it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just been my go-to workhorse at night. What else is in there? I usually keep a Snickers bar in there.
That's so high up on my list as well. Every time I go on a job, there's got to be snacks in there.
I get really hangry and like I get shaky when I haven't eaten.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, like when I'm on a shoot, sometimes we don't have breakfast.
Yeah.
Like you're getting up at like 4:30 or 5 or whatever, and then you're shooting till 8. And then you have a break. And by then I'm like wigging out. Like I'm not one of those dudes that just can't eat. So I always have an emergency Snickers bar.
That's so funny.
Some sort of chocolate.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Because you deal with clients as well on a shoot, and usually food is provided, but it's, at a certain time, and that might be 2 hours after I got really hungry. I'm like, I need to just...
I learned that pretty quickly. Hey, I'm like, this isn't your style. You need emergency food in there.
Yeah. One more?
Maybe a tripod. I don't know. I don't have that much in there. Otherwise, it's just the lenses but my 24-70 is my kind of. That's what I usually shoot on.
Yeah.
So the 2.8 24-70. I never go anywhere without that.
Yeah, it's so versatile. Hey, that lens.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually I try to round off the episode with some. Not standard questions, but I ask the guests similar questions.
Yeah.
And one of them are, do you have a current habit that you'd like to change?
Current habit I'd like to change. Yeah, I have lots of current habits I'd like to change.
You can mention more than one if you want.
I think the biggest one is stop staring at social media for so long. I find when I'm like a bit lost, or if I'm editing throughout the day and I get stuck on something, I just grab my phone and go to Instagram, and it's such a bad trait. Because like you just compare yourself to others, and I do it with other photographers. I'm like, oh, they've got this epic shot, like they're shooting so much, and I'm not doing it. I think it's caused a lot of angst, depression in our community, in our like this social world we're living in. And a lot of people have a lot of self-worth issues. I know I did. I still do it with work, like be editing from a shoot and I'm like, oh, these aren't good enough. Like that client's not going to like them, and you get in your own head too much just because you're comparing shots to other people. So yeah.
It's such a complicated topic though, because
it's so deep, isn't it?
Because do you, I mean, not to put you on the spot, but do you think that you might do that to other people with your Instagram, right?
Probably.
Because your shots are amazing.
It's because I never think about that. Like, I've never deemed myself as like someone that's up, like doing really well. And yeah, I've always compared, and I've always had a pretty negative mindset on myself. And that's something I've really tried to...
I think it's common with creatives.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Everyone I speak to has
Put
an
yourself
issue.
down.
Self-worth and... Like, even I remember listening to a podcast Chris Burkhardt did, and he's like, self-worth is his biggest. I'm like,
He's
what?
Biggest adventure photographer
I'm like,
on the planet.
What are you talking about, dude?
But it's two sides to... There's two sides to both of these topics, really. Like, one, yes, people might look at your feed and compare themselves and think that their images are not great. But then I also look at your feed and get inspired. Like, I want to get out there more. Like, I need to be out in the ocean more. I want to get that close to dolphins. So you're kind of doing two things, right?
100%. There's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
That's where I get most of my inspiration.
Yeah. You get inspired by others.
I get inspired by people like chasing their dreams and setting goals and accomplishing them. Like, have you been watching the Michael Jordan?
Oh, Last Dance.
The Last Dance.
Oh, so good.
That has inspired me like more than anything I've ever watched.
I was so sad when it was over.
I know. I'm actually watching again. I've just like started from the beginning.
I actually re-signed back up to Netflix because of that. Because I went off that for a little bit. But yeah, it's unbelievable. I posted on my story quite recently. I came over some behind the scenes stuff, some images of the interview setup. This is very geeky, by the way, but their interviews are beautifully set up, lit. They're all shot on like 4 different red cameras, and just seeing that stuff is like, to me, like, dang, I want to like put that much work and effort into just an interview part.
Yeah, I feel like it was inspiring for anyone doing anything. Like my girlfriend was watching, and like she's not into basketball, but she like was so like left so inspired. Yeah. And like same with my mum, and like the amount of work that people put into something to be the best or be the greatest.
Yeah.
And I think the thing was, you're not going to please everyone on the way. Yeah. Like you can't make everyone happy. And if you want to be the greatest or the best at something, like you've got to make sacrifices and like yeah, seeing Michael Jordan do that, and it was hectic. Like you felt for him a lot of times. Hey,
Yeah, and because especially looking at it now, at him now, he doesn't look super healthy.
he doesn't.
And not that he mentions it, but you get this little sense that he has some, not necessarily regrets, but I think sometimes he was like, he understood that he wasn't able to connect with his teammates in a nice way because he wanted to get to his goals, which he did what was kind of required, right?
Yeah.
It's very layered and interesting
it's
to watch.
deep because it's like, is that goal going to fulfill you? Like, and that's another thing I'm pretty conscious of with setting goals. It's like, once you achieve that, like, you're not just going to be like pure happiness.
No.
Like, it doesn't end there.
Yeah.
Like, if I get the shot I'm after with the Dolphins, I'm not just going to be like, I've made it. I've arrived. Like,
well, you might feel like that for a second.
yeah, for a second. And then
when you
it's
pull
like,
it up in Lightroom and it's focus sharp, you're like, yes.
there's that moment of glory. But then that passes,
Yeah.
So
You
it's
move
like,
on.
as humans, we're constantly like, what's next? What's next? And I feel like even me, like, I'm very rarely am I like present in the moment.
That is the creative journey, though. And that's the, what kind of puts us down a lot is that we always keep striving for something that we almost never get. But then that journey, that work that you put in, that's what you got to enjoy, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Enjoy the process and trust the process. And like looking back, even talking to you about like the past few years for me, it's so funny because there's days where I'm like, oh, give up, dude. Like, get a job. Like, I trying to take out money out of my accounts, and like I've got 3 cards and none of them have money in them, and I'm like, oh my goodness, dude, like pull it together, man.
Yeah.
And then that's part of your story, and it's cool to look back on that and be like, you overcame those obstacles, and like you're doing pretty good now.
Yeah.
And it's part of the story, like you were saying.
Absolutely. On that topic, do you have something that you would love to shoot, like a place or someone, or like, do you have a dream job out there?
Yeah, my dream is to shoot orcas, so go swimming with killer whales in Norway.
Or you can go New Zealand as well.
New Zealand.
Yeah, they're I feel like often I see more on social media where they have like crazy encounters with them in New Zealand, not so much in Norway. I think it's I've seen them a couple of times
Have
where
you?
I'm from. Yeah,
Wow.
but the thing is, the way I've seen them, it's like you can't really. It would be so difficult to shoot.
Yeah.
Because the water's pretty dark, and they just come up for a bit. You see the fin, and like that's really it. Like you see maybe a bit of the white.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you follow Thurston Photo on Instagram?
No, but I must have seen something that sounds familiar.
He went swimming with them in Norway, and he got an incredible like split shot.
Really?
With, like this crazy sunset sky, like orange, all these birds, like a fishing boat, and then like 2 orcas underneath the water.
Wow.
And I saw that, and I was like, that is one of the most beautiful shots I've ever seen. Like,
That's
so
amazing.
that's kind of number 1 on my list. Like the Northern Lights was always the top for me.
Yeah.
And I've got them, so that was like.
That was pretty funny though. When maybe tell that story. That was so funny watching that.
Yeah. So in the film, the Corner of the Earth film, I'd had a glass of.
It looked like you had a few glasses of wine.
I'd had a few glasses of wine. We had a big day chasing waves, and we got fun waves, really fun waves actually. And we went back to our little wooden cabin we were staying in that night, and had a few glasses of red, and then I went outside to see if the Northern Lights were there, and they were, and I came running back in, and because we had a timber floor, and obviously you bring snow in when you walk in, and then it melts because of the heating, and I ran in and told the boys, like, the Northern Lights are out there, like, grab your stuff, and I ran back and I slipped over and choked on the wine, and I was just like on the floor, like, oh.
Very excited.
Yeah, I was very excited. Anyway, we drove about 20 minutes from our cabin that night to find like a lookout spot to watch the Northern Lights, and we just stopped on the road because there's nowhere to pull over. There's snow everywhere, and we left the hazard lights on for probably, I don't know, half an hour. We were shooting them. We were all screaming, like the most amazing experience of my life seeing them, and it's hard to describe. And I went back to the car to get a battery because my battery was dying because it's just so cold. And
your camera battery, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I better check the car batteries, cool, like in this minus 20, whatever it was. And I went to turn the car on, and it just went like, tick, tick, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, no, this can't be happening. We're a 20-minute drive away from where we're staying, like
pitch dark,
middle of nowhere. Northies are just flaring above us, but I'm just
freezing cold outside.
So cold, I'm just freaking out. I was like, guys, the battery's dead, like, and they kind of looked at me and thought I was taking the piss, and I was like, Spenny like frazzed the car battery's done. And then they ran over and tried it, and we were like, oh my goodness, what do we do? And then Spenny was kind of the only one staying calm, and he rang up like car insurance, like NRMA kind of vibe over in Iceland, and we were lucky they answered. It was probably like 11 at night or something. And Spenny told him the road we're on, and he just said, you guys are on an illegal mountain road that's closed during the winter. Like, what are you doing up there? And we were just like, oh my goodness. And he was just, his words were, this is going to be like filthy expensive for you. And I was
he
like...
actually said filthy
expensive. He said filthy expensive. And
then...
And we were just like all a bit shook. I didn't know what we were going to do. We could have walked for maybe an hour and a half back home.
In minus 20 degrees.
Minus 20. And there was bad weather coming in. Or there was like, we were around a few farms and we were like, I don't know if anyone's going to be home. Maybe we just like go and knock on their doors. But we didn't really have an option. Or sleep in the car, which is not really an option either.
Dangerous.
Yeah. And then Spenny tried the car again when he was on the phone, and you could hear it try to start. It didn't, but you know when you can hear it, like the engine, like before it was just that ticking noise, and then it tried to start and it didn't. And I was like, oh my God, I think it's getting some juice back. Like, I don't know if it was the hazards or like, because we'd had all the lights off. And then after an hour or so, it started.
That's so lucky.
It
kind of just randomly started back on.
Yeah, you could hear the life coming back into it, so there was hope.
Yeah.
But it came back on, and I was screaming.
Yeah.
And like all while we're just all melting down, the northern lights are just like dancing above us, and I just don't give a damn about them. It's like my whole life I've dreamed of seeing it, but like now like just having a meltdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an amazing experience.
And that's what we talked about in the beginning too, right? Because you had this whole hiccup with the car, and I mean, you might have even been close to freezing to death out there. And then you get these images of the northern lights, and when you look at those images, it's not just the northern lights, right? It's
yeah, like exactly. And for me, there's a whole story behind that image. And yeah, I think the biggest thing with being a photographer, which I'm not that good at yet, and it's something I'm working on, is storytelling. Because you can take an image, and it can be a beautiful image, but if you can share your story behind that, you can relate to a lot more people, and people can see behind the image.
Absolutely. It's so funny thinking back on because I studied photography at Queensland College of Art in Brisbane, and during my studies I was lucky, we had we had some amazing lecturers, and we had one that always challenged us and asked us difficult questions, and his whole point, like really the only thing I think he was trying to teach us for 3 years was exactly what you said. Like, there's got to be a story behind the images. It can't just be a nice image. And during that time, I was more into just trying to things look nice. And I didn't understand what he was saying. But now, as the years have progressed and I've been working more and more, I look back and I should mention his name. His name was David Lloyd. And like that's really the most important thing he ever taught us. But I didn't understand it in the moment. But now, and it's cool hearing other people saying the same things. It's like you go through this journey of making things look fancy and nice and good colors, and he actually uses this example all the time. Like anyone can teach themselves how to take a nice sunrise or a sunset photo. Just give them some time, the right gear, they'll be able to do that. But to get the stories and the access to the stories, that's completely different.
Yeah, it's a game changer. I was heard Chris Burkhardt talking about it the other day, and he was saying, if me and you were to take the exact same image, or even your image is better, and you put them side by side, and one of them has like a caption, like some weird quote, like a quote, but he's had like this long story about the hike there and like the bear they saw on the way, and like it's going to get so much more interaction, even if the shot's not as good. Because people like relating. Yeah. And like I even find at the moment, like you probably are seeing this too, like with B grade and behind the scenes stuff, like so many more people are interested in that than the final product.
Yeah. It's that's what, because it's a story there and there's a challenge there, and you see them overcome. This is what we talk about often, is when the story is like the hero's journey, that there's something deep in all of us that relates to that story. It's like we see the characters, we see the challenge they go through, and then when they come out on the other end, whatever happens, if it goes well, if it doesn't go well, that's at least an interesting story. Yeah. And actually another thing on the Last Dance, they talk about that last image. Well, ultimately it wasn't the last image of Jordan shooting a 2-pointer, because he ended up playing for another team later on. But
we forget that.
But it still, like when I watched it and saw this photo of him shooting the last points in his Chicago Bulls jersey, that's not the best photo of all time. It's not like amazingly composed or anything like that. But when you watch it and you hear the stories, I was getting chills.
Yeah,
it was
same.
Incredible.
It was insane. It was, yeah, the most powerful doc I've seen for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So on this point as well, what do you try and do? Because it sounds like you want to be a bit careful with what you do on social media and stuff. How do you try and find inspiration into getting out there and for you doing better work? Is there something that you try and put into your day or try to watch or follow that helps you with that?
For me, it's I find when I'm in a place of flow, I shoot, I get better stuff. It might be pretty, out there, but if I have a meditation, I try to meditate every morning. I feel like if I get in a state of like being calm and peaceful and just surrendering to whatever, I get better stuff. If I'm very rushed and see the dolphins and I'm like frantic all over the place getting my gear and I get out there and they'll leave.
Yeah.
Like, it's like one of those cliche things, but if I'm just like cruising and take my time and just slow down, I get better stuff. And I'm way more in the moment. And like, I feel like sometimes like when I'm taking a photo, if I'm like, oh, this is going to be so good for Instagram, I'm going to get heaps of likes. Like sometimes I see my mind drifting to that instead of just like being it for me and having those special experiences in nature and with the animals that you're with and stuff. So I feel like for me, it's slowing down and just trying to surrender and not trying to force too much.
That's good. How do you meditate in the morning? Do you do guided meditation?
I did a course with a guy called Marcus Hamels, the Sattva Life in Avalon, a few years ago, and it was the best thing ever. It's called Vedic meditation.
Okay.
But
can you explain it like in a brief?
Yeah, it's just like you get a mantra, like a word you get given, and then it's just 20 minutes. You're meant to do it twice a day, but
yeah,
I do it.
20 minutes a morning is pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. It definitely slows me down and
yeah. Then if you do an ice bath and you're breathing on top of that, I think I'd be pretty impressed.
Yeah, it's good. It definitely helps me with a clear mind and just to slow down and not be so rushed and angst all the time.
Yeah. Do you have, and this might be a similar question, but I'd like to ask this as well. Do you have any coping mechanisms for when you get overwhelmed, either that being on a shoot or out in big surf, or is there something that you try and, keep you connected when you get stressed
I'm pretty bad, like when I'm stressed.
I think all of us are.
I like, it's like, I meditate and all this stuff. But if I'm stressed, like I'm stressed.
Yeah.
And I find it really hard to come back from.
Stressed and hungry, tough combo.
Oh boy, you're in trouble. Breathing again. It's just slow down. I usually try to do like 4 seconds in and then 6 seconds out.
Yeah.
Like if I'm on a job and I don't have time to meditate. Like sometimes like sleeping's so important. So if you're getting up at 4 o'clock on a job, like I'm not going to get up 20 minutes earlier and have a meditate because I'll just fall back asleep. So if I don't have time, I'll usually just try to do like a few long breaths.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, for me, it's the best way to calm down. And like, I went to Africa at the start of this year. I was shooting for a charity called School for Life. And it just put my whole life into perspective. Seeing what those kids have to go through over there, like their day-to-day life, it made me appreciate my life more than I ever could have imagined I would. And in moments of stress now, I just think of those kids. Like, and I'm like, Guy, your stuff doesn't matter. This job, if you stuff it up, it doesn't matter. Like these kids I was seeing, they're like, if they don't get raped, they've had a good day.
Jeez.
And that's their reality.
Yeah.
So I literally, like now this like that trip's changed my life. And if I'm having a stressful day, I just slow down and go, it doesn't matter. This isn't a life or death situation. Maybe if you're a surgeon, like, you can't really stuff up and there's going to be really stressful moments. But like, if I'm giving shots to a client and they're not happy with them, like if you get an email back being like, oh, okay, so like this wasn't really what we're after. We don't like the edit. And I'm like, I feel sick. Like you failed, but I'm just like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's really hard in those moments to like get that overview look. But I just think of those kids.
It's a good way to it's important to keep perspectives. What I'm trying to say, because you're definitely a person that comes across as like you take pride in your work and you want to do a good job, but it's not always going to happen. It's not always going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, like you said, it's not like we're saving lives with our cameras. Really.
I'm so lucky that I can do this for work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I did. We're gonna start rounding it off, but you've traveled a bunch with your work. You've been to, I think, Nepal, India, New Zealand, obviously Northern Europe, like we talked about. Do you have any tips for traveling? Because hopefully that's gonna come back on the agenda soon.
Hopefully. Well, yeah. What a strange year it's been. Yeah, I used to not be a big planner. I used to just go with the flow.
Chuck it in the bag and go.
Just go. And like, I feel like there's a really cool aspect of that. But the more I travel, the more planning I've started to do. Just because like, there's so many spots out there that you can see and find that are kind of off the beaten track. So I'd say tips for travel, just do a little bit of research. And don't just go to the spots that you see on Instagram that have got a million hashtags. Like try go off the beaten track a little.
Yeah.
And find something different.
Yeah. Planning out where you want to go, especially when you're shooting, is obviously important, right?
Yeah. But then, I think an aspect of going with the flow is really important too.
Yeah.
Because you can't plan everything.
That's what I'm trying to get better at. Because I'm a big planner, but it never ever goes as planned, and I've got to learn how to be okay with that.
I feel like 2020's just really summed that up, hasn't it?
That's definitely put that in perspective. Believe it or not, I had 1 trip to Indo, 2 trips to Maldives, and 1 trip to Norway planned.
Oh my goodness.
All put back. But it's like you said before, it's like, well, they've all gone out the window, and it's obviously annoying, and I've just got a bunch of travel credits and no money back. But at the end of the day, it's not a big problem, really. Like, the Norway one is a little bit tough because I want to go back and see my family. Yeah. But also, like, they're fine, they're healthy. I talk to them on Skype and stuff. So
and those problems are real. Like, they suck. But, it's just perspective and...
That's right.
Yeah, like, everyone's stories. And so many mates were getting married this year and they've just had to can it. And it's like... It's just so crazy. Hey?
A few weddings in Italy that's been cancelled. That's for sure. Yeah. Guy, thank you so much for coming on. That was a great chat, like an amazing chat. I really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better. And again, thank you so much.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It was really cool and great chatting to you.